It's time now for the Ask the Mayor program here on your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO. Second Thursday of the month, and Mark Ebeling, the Clear Lake Mayor, joins us to talk about a number of things today. Mayor, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again.
Well, you were last month at this time, watching little girls golf, if I remember right.
Yep, my daughter's a senior. They made it to the state golf meet, which is fantastic as a team, and played pretty darn good.
Yeah.
All in all, so proud of those girls.
Congratulations to them for making the state tournament.
Thank you.
Well, we're moving with getting past Memorial Day and getting here into the early part of June. Obviously, Clear Lake gets into full swing with a lot of activities going on throughout the community. And of course, one of the big ones that just happens every week is Thursdays on Main. And that's been almost 20 years now that they've done that. I think maybe it's something that brings people to town.
It does. It's a fantastic event that started, like 20 years ago, and has grown into a huge attractor of people. It is. It's great for downtown. It's great entertainment for families. So really happy that that's happening.
And of course, before the next time that we meet, the big celebration will be happening 4th of July and downtown Clear Lake. And obviously that is, we talk about big things. That's usually the biggest one every year, though.
And this being especially big, 250
Yes.
years. The chamber has a great few days planned as usual. Looking forward to it. Hopefully all the weather cooperates.
That's 20 days away or whatever. I mean, I'm not going to make any promises, but
it's sneaking up on me. That's for sure. Yeah. About 3 weeks out. So, but yeah, absolutely looking forward to it.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that a city business here. And I know the council at the last meeting back a week ago, Monday, held the public hearing that approved the swapping of property for the Oaks Hotel project, and as well as approved the contract and bond for the 7th Avenue realignment. Maybe let's just talk about the hotel part and why that swapping of property. That was part of the development agreement, right?
Yes, it was. So the homes to the north are that the city had purchased is going to be parking for the hotel, which was needed. And then part of the original hotel property is where 7th Avenue is going to be now rerouted. So, kind of a big detail, but that all got squared away and they've started working on the hotel. We haven't had a groundbreaking officially yet, but we will on the 19th. In fact, we have the governor coming on the 19th, and we're going to do a ribbon cutting on the streetscape up at the new arch, and then do a tour of the streetscape and the MEC, and also have a hotel groundbreaking. So looking forward to that.
So it'll be a full day, a week from Friday, and with the governor in town. And it's always good to see, economic development officials as well. I'm assuming you'll be at that too. That as that surf district area starts to really move into its next phase of making that what it has been earmarked to be.
Yes, it's fantastic, the improvements that have been made. And our friends in Des Moines have certainly taken notice of what we've done, and do point to it for other communities to look at as, these are the things you can do. So,
and I know the director of the Iowa Economic Development Authority, Debbie Durham, has, as you just mentioned, has pointed to the projects in Clear Lake, and as well as some of the ones here in Mason City as well, to show communities what can be done and try to get them involved in some of these programs that can help transform communities.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think, between Mason City and Clear Lake, there is a lot of good things happening in North Iowa, which is really impressive. There's a lot of people that care and are taking the initiative. So I'm really happy to see that.
Looking back at something from the council's last meeting in the month of May, on May 18th, the city heard the results of a study on the city's utility rates, and a couple of the rates were okay and looking at those funds, but some more attention needs to be given to the water fund, it looks like.
Yeah. Water is probably at the top of the list of what the city has to provide. And the costs have gone up year over year. with consumer price index, which hasn't kept up with the actual costs. For instance, water meters are, don't quote me on it, but over $100, and we're only charging $50 or $70 or something of that nature. So we're losing money on it. So we just need to get up to where we need to be to at least break even. And then of course, in the future, we're going to have to do some major water infrastructure upgrades due to EPA guidelines. So get through this budget season and then probably start to really look at tackling all that.
Well, my thought would be to ask you the next question of, will that mean that rates eventually will be going up here in the near future, or is that going to have to be looked at a little bit more closely on how much maybe rates would go up, or what's the next step here to remedy that?
We won't do anything drastically. It'll be a phased approach over the course of the next few years, but we're not looking just to carte blanche increase everything out of the gate by any means.
Mark Ebeling, the city of Clear Lake mayor, here on the Ask the Mayor program on KGLO, and something that the council also did action. I've kind of skip back. Let's get back to the meeting that was held last week. Set a public hearing for renewing a lease agreement with the school district for the tennis court and pickleball and basketball court property. Easy for me to say.
Yeah. So that lease agreement, I believe, was 50 years. And with all the improvements and changes with pickleball becoming so popular, we do need to renew that lease agreement. Shouldn't have any issues with it. The school has been great to work with. And also along those lines, we'll be looking at finalizing the 2080 agreement for a student resource officer, that position would be starting in January 1st. So I think that's a good thing to work with the school on.
Maybe talk a little bit more about the school resource officer and why. Well, maybe some people might ask, why do you need a school resource officer anyway, if you haven't had one at this point?
Well, I think it's good for kids to have that exposure to police officers, have that interaction. And, for some kids, it would be easier for them to talk to a police officer if they're having an issue with something. But just, for on into life to realize that police are, they are there to help you. They're not bad people. So, and that officer will work, still for the city, during off hours. But I just think from the public perspective, no different than having a canine. Right. It's good to have that, one-on-one involvement.
Another topic I'll just ask you about quickly. Obviously, since our last conversation, the legislature's wrapped up their doings at the State House, and the big thing, of course, was property taxes. And I know there have been a few council meetings where before the budget was set, that people were, raising concerns about the rising costs of property, or the rising property values, we should say. Your thoughts on what the legislature passed?
We will live with it. I think we'll be okay. I honestly, at this point, we haven't dug into the details. We're still waiting to get all the details out of it. But on its face, a 2% increase year over year. Okay, that's all right, I suppose. What that effect has long term, we don't know. We'll see. I think I've mentioned it before. It'll be perhaps an interesting budget discussion this fall, but Clear Lake will be okay. It's going to be, really, really look hard into the needs versus the wants. And I know council's priorities and my priorities are a lot of infrastructure. So, and we'll have to look at ways to pay for things, grants from the federal government and wherever else we can find it. But
well, it'll be an interesting discussion for all cities and counties and schools coming up in the next few years on that situation. I know you had a couple of other things written down that you wanted to talk about as part of today's conversation. and just go ahead and jump right in on whatever you got on your list.
Yeah, just a few items here. So the resurfacing will start in July for 18th and 19th Street and 6th and 7th Avenue, which will be nice to have those streets done. They had been neglected for a while. The new scoreboards are up at the Little League diamonds, which are ever improving. They're a far cry from what I played on back in the day. And our city administrator is going to be headed to Washington the next couple weeks, and he's going to be talking about the 4th Avenue build grant. That would be redoing that down into 3 lanes and hopefully some roundabouts, which are a good thing. I love them. I think they're fantastic. And then funding for housing opportunities that we could use some funds for. And there's been 2 workforce housing tax credit applications that were submitted. Hopefully those can go through. That'd be for some downtown housing and then down on the south side of town. So
housing is going to be an issue that I don't think is ever going to go away in communities in our area, is it?
Probably not. No. And it's a kind of a double-edged sword. The cost to build is so darn expensive. And there is going to have to be cost to the city, with streets and infrastructure and, if there's tax incentives or not. But, in order to relieve some of that pressure on the housing market, you have to have more available. And it's a long game, but, it's a necessity. And, we've got developers ready to go at a moment's notice, it seems like. But, it's hard to look 10, 15 years down the road and really think about what impacts anything we do has on the community. So it's difficult, and, slow and steady wins the race, I guess.
Well, and as you mentioned, the costs for individual housing as opposed to apartment type housing, that's why we've not seen too many of those types of developments, just because of the cost and who can offset some of that cost. And like you mentioned, cities having to decide where they can and they cannot give tax breaks. And leaning back on the property tax bill that we just talked about a couple of moments ago, some of those things are starting to be taken away as well. So.
Right. Well, on the TIF side, that TIF is actually was an improvement, I believe, because it used to be just for low to moderate income housing. Now you can TIF for any type of housing. So that's a bonus. But just seeing what would fit right in the community and where growth goes that's the hard part to really kind of wrap your head around sometimes.
Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
I can't think of much.
Well, we look forward to you announcing you're leading into the music part of the 4th of July fireworks over on our sister station, 96.7 FM and 1490 KRIB, to kick off the fireworks on the 4th. And hopefully like you say, the weather's always been screwy around 4th of July, hasn't it, in Clear Lake?
But there's always one storm that'll blow through. Hopefully it's not on the 4th, but we'll see.
Well, 4th's on a weekend, so
right.
Worst comes to worst, you can put the fireworks on the 5th.
Yeah.
But we're not worried about that. They're going to be on the 4th. We know it.
Yes.
So, Mr. Ebeling, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Mark Ebeling, the mayor of Clear Lake, here on the Ask the Mayor program.